Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the one, the only, Linda McMahon.
Thank you. Oh, wow. What a great warm reception. You know, I'd forgotten about that video, and I realized that it said everything I was going to say when I came out here. So now I'm really stuck for what it is I'm going to talk about today. You know, it truly is wonderful to be here in front of all of you today. We've talked about, prepare to share powerful. Stacy came up in her own inimitable, vivacious, entertaining way to take you through the preparation part. And then Debbie follows with her humor and how to stay connected through social media and to realize how important it is for all of our networking. So what I want to try to do today is kind of tie all that together and really talk about how we are going to share powerful. And if you notice, it's not share power, it's share powerful. And I thought maybe the best way to let you understand a little bit more about me, which you heard a little bit on the video that played, is to tell you a little bit about my story. And that may be boring to some. I apologize in advance if it is, but I'll try to make it a little bit entertaining. I'm from a really nice middle-class family from North Carolina. Both my parents were civil service employees. I'm an only child. I grew up as my father's son and my mother's daughter. I was a great tomboy. I played basketball. I loved to play with the boys. Let me see how to say that better. Play sports with the boys. And I always had a lot of guy friends. I think you heard Stephanie say that yesterday too. We both grew up really comfortable in a male environment. So I'm 13 years old. I'm in church one Sunday morning singing in the choir. And this cute guy walks in the back of the church. I hadn't seen him before. Who's that? Turns out his name was Vince McMahon. He was 16 years old, I was 13. And I've often said that, it must have been ordained, and Vince's explanation was the devil made him do it. So you could kind of see a little difference in our life philosophy just to start off. And sometime later I said, what made you come to church that day? His mother also sang in the choir. And he said, well, my mom told me there was a really pretty girl in church and she had really beautiful blue eyes. But what really sealed the deal was she said that you look good in a sweater. So we met, we talked a little bit on the porch after church, and we became friends. And wow, and then that friendship really progressed over the next 3 years. And when I graduated from high school and Vince was a junior in college, we got married. And against all odds, that marriage was successful. And this August, we will celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. I promised my parents that I would graduate from college. Neither of them had had that opportunity. And they were both so afraid that because we were so young, that the marriage wouldn't work and I'd have no way to support myself. I promised them I would graduate. So boy, I put pedal to the metal. I took overloads every semester. I went all through the summer and I caught up with Vince. And we graduated together. Let me put a little bit more perspective on that. It took him 5 years. It took me 3. So we averaged out 4. But the day before we graduated from college, I found out I was pregnant with our first child. Boy, time is everything, right? And Shane McMahon is living proof that you can get pregnant on birth control pills. Because there's no other explanation for that. So Shane was born in January after we graduated from college. Lord knows, we had no money, we had no job, and we had no insurance because we were married in college, and we had an insurance plan that would convert upon graduation to a family plan, except it didn't cover pre-existing conditions. Well, clearly pregnancy was a pre-existing condition, so pregnancy was not covered. So this little baby boy was born. Lord knows we were in hock. It took about a year to pay him off. I thought they might reclaim him under the Garnaschee plan at one point, but they didn't. They let us keep him. But I went to work when Shane was 6 weeks old, simply because I had to. I cried every day for about 3 months, leaving this little baby to be cared for by somebody else. But as luck would have it, I went to work for a law firm in Washington, D.C. as a receptionist. Now, I had graduated from college with a degree in French, and I was prepared and certified to teach. But when the baby's born mid-year, there aren't any jobs around in teaching. I went to work for a law firm, a really large law firm in Washington, D.C. called Covington & Burling. And I was on the reception desk, and right place, right time, one of the clients in the firm died in France. Some correspondence coming in over the desk. I was able to be helpful in the morning and do some translating. And so when there was an opening in the probate division of the company, I asked to be considered. You're 20 years old. What do you know? 21. All they can say is no. And they gave me a shot. They took me into the probate division and they trained me as a paralegal. And while I was there were clients of the firm like Vince Lombardi and other people with intellectual property rights. I learned about intellectual property. So when Vince and I actually then started working and developing our company, I knew what trademarks and patents and intellectual property and all that, really meant. So at any rate, I was at Covington & Burling for a couple of years. Vince now is doing his dream job. This is after he's worked in the rock quarry 90 hours a week, saving money because he got a lot more in overtime than he did on regular time. But he finally went to work at his father's company, Capital Wrestling Corporation, doing what he had dreamed of doing since he was just a little boy. He was an announcer on television. He was a promoter of live events. And we started putting a little bit of money aside. For the first time, we were getting our head above water, actually able to pay our bills, and have a little bit put aside. And then we met an accountant, was introduced to an accountant who said, you got all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify, invest over here. Invest with me. I'm starting a company, a construction company, and I need a couple of more investors. Well, we did that. We trusted in him. We didn't know anything about construction. We didn't really know him all that well. We signed personally on some bank notes that he was on as well and another partner. Turns out, though, the accountant wasn't quite as trustworthy as we thought. The money wasn't going into the construction company. He wasn't paying payroll taxes and that sort of thing. And the other partners bailed. They declared bankruptcy, but Vince and I tried for over a year to pay off those bank loans, and we couldn't do it. After a while, as you heard on the tape, we declared bankruptcy, and we did lose everything. We lost our home. Our car was repossessed in the driveway. That is a sobering experience. Once again, my timing is impeccable. I'm pregnant with our second child. Now, you have to picture this. All you ladies in the audience who've ever been pregnant can really appreciate this story. It is July, hot summer. I am 7 months pregnant with Stephanie, and I'm to meet Vince in Hartford at the courthouse, Hartford, Connecticut, for our bankruptcy hearing. Vince is out of town. I'm meeting him at the courthouse. There aren't any cell phones in 1976. So I'm going to meet him there. I go down to get in the car. I've got file folders, all the files we need for the hearing. I go down, I have a flat tire in the car. Well, no way I can change the tire. I call a towing service in Hartford. They send the tow truck, big hook hanging off the back, the whole deal. Pulls up. The guy says, I don't know what time you have to leave. And I tell him, he said, I can't change a tire in that length of time. And I said, well, you going back to Hartford? And he said, yes. I said, can I bum a ride? I climb up into the tow truck. We pull up in front of the courthouse for a bankruptcy hearing. I'm 7 months pregnant in the back of a tow truck. Climb down, perspiration all over my face, and Vince is like, realizes it really is me, and he comes over and he says, well, I guess now all you need to be is barefoot. So you have to have a little humor along the way. At any rate, during that pregnancy also, I had a couple of times when I actually thought I might lose the baby, and it was a little bit scary. So when Stephanie was born in September, a healthy, beautiful baby girl. I've told her since that she was my omen, that everything was going to be okay. And maybe I get a little emotional about her. She absolutely was that omen and has been a wonderful, wonderful part of our lives, as you saw yesterday morning. So at any rate, you come out of that. So you come out of that bankruptcy, and now you're kind of on your way. Wrestling business is picking up. By the way, it was never the wrestling business that went bankrupt. We were growing that, and we had an opportunity to kind of regroup and rebuild fast. But you know what? You get knocked down like that, and you just got to have enough guts to get back up and go again. You just have to put one foot in front of the other and go every single day and make it happen. And we were young. Thank God we were young, because you take a blow like that, you know, and you need that youth and vitality and good mindset to go forward. So now WWE is growing. Vince and I have incorporated a company in 1980 called Titan Sports, and Titan Sports bought his father's company in 1982, and we started building this business from a northeastern regional promotional company to a national and an international business. And you know, we went from he and I sharing a desk to almost 800 employees now, offices internationally. We've got power. You know, we're making it. We're recognized as a power couple, often covered in newspapers or magazines. We have influence. You know, we've acquired some personal wealth. We think we're doing okay. And in 1999, we took our company public. I was the CEO, Vince was the chairman. Boy, was that a ride. So now not only did you have this really successful company, now you have a public company. You really do have money to do things with. And then we felt this incredible responsibility. We had been so fortunate. How do we give back? How do we pay that forward and give back? We've now got power. I'm somebody of influence. I'm sitting in boardrooms or across the desk from network executives all over the world making deals, or licensing companies making toys, lunchboxes, t-shirts. I'm sitting in congressmen's offices or senators' offices, governors' offices, talking about policy. I now belong to organizations that are having influence on public policy. Wow, that's pretty cool. But that's power, and how do you use that power? How do you use it for the right kind of influence? So Vince and I established our family foundation, the Vince and Linda McMahon Family Foundation. We've been so incredibly blessed, and I say this not in a braggadocious way, but we've now given back tens of millions of dollars, primarily focused on women and families at risk and on education, because we're both so, thank you. Because we are both so committed to education and for the preservation of families and families at risk, and to help children who might become drug addicts and all those kinds of wonderful things. Not that they're drug addicts, but that we can help them not be drug addicts. So now it's, you know, time has moved on. It's about 2007. I love our company, I love our business. But quite frankly, I'm in about 30 years now doing that, and I really wanted to do something else. And so the Senator of Connecticut, Chris Dodd, was really making a pretty bad name for himself at that point. Now, I'd never really followed politics, but it was the same theme that we're hearing today, and this is not about a political thing, but it's the same thing. We don't want politics as usual. We want business people to run, go to Washington. Let's see if we can turn things around. So I ran for the United States Senate. This was after, let me digress for a second.